Hey there everyone, it's Jennifer McGuire and thanks for stopping by again. Today I have a fun technique for you that works with die cutting. I'm going to call it a die cut inlay. I couldn't really think of a better description, but it reminds me kind of like a wood inlay flooring that you might see where there's a pattern within a pattern but it's all nice and smooth. That's what I did here. I've pieced together kind of like a puzzle some die cuts so you end up with a nice smooth surface in the end. Another great thing about this technique is that when you're doing it, you actually create two cards at once because you just take the opposite pieces and piece them together. Now this card was actually, these cards were created inspired by this piece here. This is for the Case Study Challenge blog where they take an artist and pick a few of her older cards to inspire some newer cards. So this is an older card of mine and I was inspired by the cardstock strips to create the cards that we're doing today. So first I'm going to dive into the butterfly cards. I've created a bunch of cardstock strips here. They're 1/4 of an inch wide and they're 12 inches long, and that's kind of long, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut these in half because I don't need them to be that long for this small card. You could use pattern paper scraps. You can use anything you want for this. This is a 4" by 4" white piece of typing paper, just super thin paper. I just need something to hold all those strips down, and I don't want it to be too thick because I want this to act like just one piece of paper once I have all those cardstock strips on it, so that they piece nicely together with a plain piece of cardstock later on. You'll see that in a moment. Now I covered this with my favorite adhesive, completely covered it with my favorite adhesive. If you want to be more economical, you could just use glue stick. I will link to my favorite glue stick, which is from Ranger. You could use that if you wanted to too. I actually started using my regular adhesive and didn't think that I should be using the glue stick until it was too late. So I'm just taking my cardstock strips here and I'm gluing them. I start at the bottom, that way I can be sure that I'm going straight. And I'm just going to end up covering this entire piece of adhesive covered typing paper. So basically in the end I'll just have a piece of paper that's made up of a bunch of cardstock strips. Now once that is completely covered, I'm just going to cut off the extra. You'll see that one of my strips hangs off the end there, no big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and create with this, and I can always trim my card base to match. So here we have it. It's almost like its own piece of striped pattern paper. I'm also going to cut a piece of white cardstock to be exactly the same size. This way I can create two cards at once. So now I've picked two dies here. These are both from Simon Says Stamp and they fit nicely into each other. However, if you don't have two dies of the same shape, no worries. You could put like maybe a bird inside of a heart. You just need two different size dies. So I went ahead and cut the larger butterfly from the white cardstock piece, and now I'm going to do it from the striped piece too. So you're going to cut the same die from both pieces, and I happen to position them in the same spot, but you really don't have to. You can position it wherever you want. So now I'll run this through my die cut machine. I use the Vagabond, but any die cut machine works with these dies. And now I have the two different pieces here. So I have the negative space and the positive space. I'm going to use both here. Definitely keep all of these pieces. Now I have this smaller butterfly here also, and I'm going to die cut right from the center of each of my butterflies so that I'll end up with this kind of built-in look. So I'm just going to hold this right in place. I'm just using some Post-it sticky tape to hold the die in place as I run it through my die cut machine. You could use a little piece of washi tape if you don't have the Post-it tape. So I run it through and peel that off, and you'll see I've got the butterfly that comes out of the center, and I've got this great outline space too. So it's really fun to combine different dies together to create this inlaid look. So now I'm going to do the same with the large white butterfly die cut. I'm going to go ahead and cut the small butterfly from the center, run that through my die cut machine, and now I have all the pieces that I need to create these inlaid cards. So I'll show you here. I want this white to fit into this striped piece, but it kind of needs something to sit on. So I've got another piece of typing paper, same as before. And I'm just going to put lots of adhesive along this so that I can lay all my pieces onto it and not have to worry about gluing those pieces in. So I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of typing paper back here. You could use regular cardstock if you wanted to, but there's really no need. And then I'll take the white butterfly and fit it into the opening. I didn't have enough adhesive showing through, so I'm going to put some on the back there. Now I'm just going to lay this in here, and it fits nicely like a puzzle, and it really gives this great inlay look that I think is really classy. So now I'm going to take my striped butterfly and fit that into the opening, add a little more adhesive on the back here. Again, you'd see why glue stick would be perfect for this. And I'll go ahead and put this in here, and you get this great inlay look. It's really fun in real life, and it ends up with a nice one layer piece here. I think it'd be really awesome to do this with some pattern paper strips too, a great way to use up your scraps. So there you can get a closer look at that inlay look. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this with the other piece. So this is the white negative space. I'm going to put a piece of typing paper onto the back of this. Any kind of paper back there would be fine. Great way to use up some scraps. And now I'm going to take, this is actually the striped butterfly piece. I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of it. You see here that I actually end up tearing my butterfly. I was in a hurry because I actually work against a ticking time bomb that is my daughter, who's about to wake up from nap at any moment. So I'm trying to hurry to get this done before she wakes up, and I ended up tearing my butterfly. But if you look with this technique, it just kind of fits in place and nobody will ever know. There you go. So I just glue it right into place. Sometimes I hurry a little too much. So now that I have that there, I'm going to take my regular white butterfly and add that to the center. And you can see by adding that into that spot and giving that nice one layer look, it really makes a big difference. So I'll go ahead and fit that right in place and we're good to go. And I'm just going to rub away some of this adhesive that gets in the way. If there's any extra adhesive on the outside, you can just use an eraser to remove that. So now you see with this technique, I've ended up with two pieces so that I can make two cards pretty quickly. And I think on this one, where there's the white on the outside, you can see better what that inlay look gives. It's really quite cool. Now I just needed some greetings for each of these cards. I actually have this dad stamp set from Avery L. It's called The Man. And I like the greeting on there that says, "Thanks for always being there." And I thought it would work perfectly on one of these stripes on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and white heat emboss this. I really think that because of the bright white of that butterfly, it'd be fun to do a bright white emboss greeting. So I'm going to use my T-ruler here just to push against it to make sure that it's nice and straight. And then I'll take my acrylic block and press right onto it. That way I can be sure that my greeting is straight by putting it up against a straight ruler. Now I'm going to use my powder tool here to just put a little powder down to prevent any of the embossing powder from sticking where I don't want it to. That's a great tool to have. Now I have my Versamark ink, which is a clear sticky ink that's great for embossing. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp this along one of those strips on the card and then add some white embossing powder. I think this is one of the cases where having a bright white greeting really makes a big difference. If I would have stamped this in black, it would have gotten lost. By having it that white, it really pops out of all that bright color. Now for the other card, I'm going to use a greeting from this awesome stamp set from Technique Tuesday and Terry Anderson. I'm going to press it up against my ruler edge and put it on my acrylic block, and then I'm going to stamp this one in black since the background is white, and that'll stand out nicely also. I think this awesome set is a really good one because there's a lot of great greetings that work with lots of occasions. So now I went ahead and I put these with foam adhesive onto a white note card background, and you end up with a nice square note card. And so you have both of the cards that you made pretty quickly using one technique. Now I quickly wanted to show you the thanks cards that I showed at the beginning of the video. This one's really quick and easy to do. I did the same thing as before. I cut a piece of white typing paper and covered it with cardstock strips, but this time I put them at an angle just for something different. Now I have the thanks die. I'm using my T-ruler to make sure that it cuts straight, and I've got some of that sticky post-it tape to hold the die in place. This die is a really intricate one, very detailed. It's from Memory Box and it cuts like butter. I just love this die. It also comes with the word you, so you can cut thanks you and cut off the S, so it's just thank you. So now I have two pieces here. I've got this negative space. Then I also have that great striped die, that real detailed striped die here that I'm puzzle piecing into the white piece that I cut the exact same way. Now remember, with this die, you're going to have to keep the centers of all those little letters. So be careful not to lose those when you die cut them, because you're going to want to go ahead and piece those in like a puzzle also, so you get the full inlay effect. Now in my die there, I also have the white thanks that I'll piece into the other. So there you can see you get a really great look with these pieced together. And I have to admit, I gotta love a technique that creates two cards at once. So I hope this inspires you to try your dies in a completely different way for this fun inlay look. If you have any questions, please head over to my blog at jennifermcguireinc.com, and you can see the supplies below in the description on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.